I broke my hand during John Adams. I punched the table so hard. For a lot of that, I have my hand behind my back. For a lot of that, it's easy to break your hand. Private parts, Kenny Pig Vomit Rushton.
See, he doesn't actually say the bad thing himself. He says it through a character.
Yeah, well, I don't do characters.
Well, hey, how about you go in here, 3 a.m. this morning, show us some characters, okay?
Howard is a really lovely guy. Everybody said he was, and then he turned out to be. He was really willing to do anything, and she was a great director, Betty Thomas, so she let us play around and rehearse a lot and get used to it and sort of improvise a little bit. You didn't really need to because the script was so good.
Well, either I'll tame him or I'll make him so crazy he'll quit.
I felt terrible because I didn't know it was a real guy until Howard said to me at some point, wow, you really nailed this guy. Did you listen to him? And I was like, this is a real guy? I was like, I feel terrible now. I've made this guy look like the biggest asshole in the world. And he's gonna have to go through his life now with everybody being like, oh, you're the asshole in that movie. I talked to him once. So he was running a radio station I had to do an interview on, and they put him on the air with me. And I just like, hey, how you doing? It was terrible, terrible.
Listen up. WNBC. You hear that kind of lift? NBC.
WNBC. WNBC.
I did this ridiculous accent when I auditioned for it because I just thought I'll do every stupid Southern sound I can think of. And then when I got the part, I said to Betty Thomas, so I'll learn a real accent. And she was like, no, do that stupid accent that you were doing. I auditioned 5 times. She saw a lot of people over Phil Hoffman, who was a friend of mine. But I was really obsessed with having one of those big, chunky college rings, and I couldn't find one. And I remember getting the set the first day, and the prop woman came up to me, and she had to watch and stuff. And she said, I felt like maybe you would want one of these. And she had a college ring. Some reason she thought the same thing. And that whole performance is that ring. The whole ring is the whole thing with that guy. The way my hands move, the way the guy thinks of himself is all in that ring. Horrible guy, yeah, horrible character. I hadn't done that much in a film before. That was definitely the biggest thing that I'd ever done.
Before that, I saw it was like NYPD Blue, Man in Sleeping Bag.
That's correct, Man in Sleeping Bag. I was a witness of a crime. I think my line was, I didn't see anything, man.
You guys see anything going on here last night?
No, we didn't see nothing.
They bring you in for a day and you have 3 lines. A lot of the time you've never read the script. They just hand you this thing, it'll change. Oh, you have a dog now, or something. You're like, okay. Or you have to be the bartender and you have an insanely elaborate thing with all these drinks and you're serving everybody and you have some lines. Or you have to go in and break down in one scene. You're the person who freaks out about their kid for a few lines in one scene. You just do whatever the hell they tell you to do. That's the hardest stuff to do, always. And I have huge respect for people who do that because I had to do it, and it's not easy. Sideways, Miles.
We're drinking Merlot.
No, if anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any fucking Merlot!
Okay, relax, Miles.
That script gave you everything over and over and over and over and over again. Just every time I looked at it, there was more, and every time we did it, there was more. He's such a good writer, and Jim Taylor that he wrote it with. It's all there. You don't really have to do a whole lot of work. You just got to stay out of the way and just let it happen. I remember I was very specific about the beard I had. I wanted a beard like Ernest Hemingway's because I thought this guy thinks he's Ernest Hemingway. So I had a very kind of crafted beard. I was very specific about the beard, like a writerly beard.
Put your glass down, get some air into it. Oxygenating it opens it up. It unlocks the aromas, the flavors. Very important.
All the wine stuff was very telling about the guy, all the sort of stuff those people do, all of that life of the smelling and all that stuff, and that kind of person who's that kind of obsessive connoisseur about things tells you something about what a person's like.
Go to the fucking glass, fucker!
Is it inevitable that he's going to chug the spit bucket? It's coming. You see it coming. The thing about that I remember is that we only had maybe 3 shirts because it was a very specific bad polo shirt I was wearing. So it had to work. Oh, yeah, we managed to do it, I think, in maybe 2 takes or something like that, maybe 3.
Come on. Back off, man! Give me that bottle, now!
That was really hairy, that hill, actually. They had stuntmen for us, stunt doubles, and the stunt doubles had a hard time doing it. And Alexander was like, we got to use the actual guys, but it's much more steep than it looks. And it's all holes and ruts and stones and dirt. So Tom and I Like, so it does really look like we're fucking like, you know, because it was hard to run down that. It was harrowing. Saving Private Ryan, Sergeant Hill.
Is he here? Well, I don't know. Maybe with a mixed unit on the other side of town. It's hard to get to. The Germans punched a hole in our center a few hours ago. They cut us right in two. What's his name again? Ryan.
I've done other sort of war things, but that was, you know, innovative, what he was doing in that movie. I don't know how many Steadicam operators there were at one time operating, and it was not terribly structured necessarily. It was very loosely blocked, so that these guys were running around catching whatever they can, almost like documentary filmmakers. And so they were all falling over and banging into each other and hitting, because he didn't want it coordinated. It was a living scene. You weren't cutting all the time and stopping and resetting. Then you're not worrying about hitting marks. You're not worrying about where, you know, he wants to see the back of your head and he wants to see, you know, it's like you just forget about all that and you just play it like it's a play, but it's even more than a play. It's an immersive place because those sets were incredible. John Adams actually had a lot of that too. I mean, I think I just fell because it was incredibly slippery and muddy. Everybody was falling all the time. And I think from that, Spielberg started developing this whole idea that the guy, his leg was messed up and he had a thing in his shoe, and he started just making that up. So he would come over and give us the scenario and some lines. I didn't really have, there was no part really. It was very, very sketched in. And so he must have had some notion he wanted somebody to fall through the wall so all those German soldiers are exposed. And I guess he then just thought, that's good, I'll have this guy fall through the wall. Sort of hapless soldier, this guy who's just exhausted and hapless and falling over. I suddenly had a character. I didn't really have a character. Big Fat Liar, Marty Wolf.
Excuse me, senorita.
I really liked doing physical things. I didn't play a lot of sports or anything. I guess I wasn't very competitive, but I liked how theater and acting could offer me a way to do crazy physical stuff. And Sean Levy, who I'd known in college, had seen me do a lot of stuff like that. I can't do a lot of that stuff anymore because I'm getting old and I injured myself a lot. So I've always been physically comfortable doing stuff like that in front of people. I mean, there's obviously an exhibitionist element to actors that you kind of don't care or think about it or you like it. Like love scenes are harder to do than like physical shtick like that. I haven't had to do a lot of love scenes, so it's all right. Really, like at that point with something like that, he just was letting me do so much ridiculous stuff. And I enjoy being big like that. It's really fun. You know, you don't get the opportunity so much to just go over the top like that. And he knew I could. It just was, I was having fun. There was a whole sort of facial hair thing. I was always trying to grow facial hair for parts. I remember I did Big Mama's House and I grew a mustache for this cop and they made me shave it. And I was really like, why the fuck do I have to shave this? They were really anti-facial hair. And I grew a beard for that. Sean was like, they want you to lose the beard. And I was like, I can't lose the fucking beard. And he really fought for me. And what he got was the compromise of just that chin beard, which was great, actually, because it's a stupid looking beard. I think it needed that because it actually looks funnier like that with the orange hair. And the costumes, the more over the top and ridiculous the costumes we could get, the better. Planet of the Apes, Limbo. Oh, the monkey, the apes. I was like, who the hell is Limbo? I was like, what the hell is Limbo? Was I in a picture called Limbo?
What, are you trying to put me out of business? Oh, these are the skankiest, scabbiest, scuzziest humans I've ever seen.
Yes, Limbo the ape, Limbo the orangutan. I was obsessed with the Planet of the Apes movies as a kid. And so the notion that I could be in one of those was mind-blowing to me. I didn't audition for that. Tim Burton came to me with that because I guess he was like, you look like a monkey, so I'll have you do this. It was one of the funnest things I've ever done. And working with Rick Baker was amazing. I was covered head to toe, shoulders in a fat suit and my feet. My agents were like, don't you think you should play a human so they can see your face? And I was like, if you tell them I want to play a human in this, I'll fucking kill you all. I was like, I'm going to play an ape.
I don't need this aggravation.
Sell him to me.
Are you crazy? He's wild. They're both wild.
Then I'll buy them both.
Oh, no, that would be expensive.
I had a very fast makeup artist named Bill Corso, who's one of the best makeup guys, special effects makeup guys in the world now. And he was very fast. I had the most elaborate one, and he did his in about 2.5 hours. Most people were about 4 hours in the chair. And I had these crazy giant teeth. I asked them to give me some teeth to practice with because I wanted to be able to talk. A lot of people ADR'd it later because they were just, you couldn't fucking understand anybody. They had these giant teeth, but I really wanted to learn how to talk with the teeth in. And it gave me a fine kind of way of talking. It gives you everything. I didn't want to take it off. Never, I wanted to stay in it all the time. I loved it. Getting to do all that monkey training and all that stuff, the physical stuff. Talk about everything was there for me to do. He made it feel not like a gigantic, huge studio production. It felt very intimate and fun. He wanted your ideas. He wanted you to just do weird stuff. And he was very sympathetic to the makeup, and we'd have to sit around for days sometimes and not do anything to makeup. He'd have his assistant bring people movies to watch. You know, he cared about it. It was great. Big Mama's house, John. I didn't remember that name either.
They just want us to sit around here picking ticks off our ass.
I know. Nobody's tried to kill you for the past couple of days. The stress must be overwhelming.
I was like, I'm going to be a cop, so I'm going to grow a mustache. And I wanted to kind of have like a not great mustache. You know, he's a guy who can't really grow a great mustache. And they made me shave it. I was probably unconsciously drawing on those kinds of guys in those kinds of movies, you know, the kind of nerdy guy, the nerdy white guy.
Without giving me a big Southern welcome. Come on. Yeah, come on now.
Whether a straight man's supposed to actually be funny or not is an interesting question, because like Abbott and Costello, he's not funny, Abbott. But like Laurel and Hardy, the straight man's funny. I suppose you kind of try different things, you know, and see just what works. But I mean, there was not a hell of a lot of a cap on that movie. I don't know that I was grounding Martin Lawrence particularly. I mean, I think he was going to do whatever he wanted to do. But he was, talk about really crazy physical stuff. And he was amazing. All the people in it were really great. Octavia Spencer's in that movie. She has a little part.
Time for what?
It's time Rita's gonna have a baby.
I haven't talked about Big Mama's house that much in my life. John Adams.
The vice president would find we agree on most matters if he could be convinced that I mean what I say. So far, I've failed in that task.
I mean, he had no teeth by middle age. Most of those guys, 30, they had no teeth. We didn't go that far because I was like, there's enough going on in this without me having no teeth at all. I think that was a big part of it. You know, I had to talk so much. This feeling of this guy that nobody was really listening to him ever. And at some point, as it develops after the revolution, really nobody's listening to him. And it's almost like he's talking to himself a lot of the time.
You question my loyalty, sir.
Oh, no, Mr. Hamilton, I question your sanity. Now, either you are stark raving mad, or I am. Good day, sir.
Hamilton, well, now he's everybody's hero, but he was a more complicated figure when that thing was being made. All that stuff was taken from letters and diaries, a lot of the dialogue. I really rip into him. I rip into a lot of people in that thing. It's fun, you know, and especially that language was really great. That stuff really sticks in your head and it comes out rhythmically, you know, it's got music to it and you can really feel it in your body and in your mouth and it just fires off at people. And those, you know, those people talked with the end in sight and they'd hit the end. You know, it's really fun, rhetorical language like that. Does a lot of the work for you. American Splendor, Harvey Pickard.
What kind of existence is this? Is this all a working stiff like you can expect? You're gonna suffer in silence for the rest of your life?
I didn't really know. They didn't really know what they were going to do with the animation stuff. They knew they wanted to do it. They just didn't really know until after they had all the film footage together. I don't know if it's ahead of its time, but it was doing all this kind of reality stuff right at the front of that stuff happening.
So if you're the kind of person looking for romance or escapism or some fantasy figure to save the day, guess what? You got the wrong movie.
That's great.
Okay, so now you got 4 pigs. You ought to be able to patch one together from there.
That was tricky too because he was going to be in the movie. Oftentimes you get a part like that and if people don't know what the person's like, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. You did kind of have to imitate him well. So that was a weird task. I met him right before we started filming. I knew who he was and I remembered him from these Letterman appearances, so I saw some of that. We were the comic book version of those people, so we had to be a little exaggerated. It was actually really helpful wonderful to look at all the different artist representations of him in the comic books. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool to see the way he sits. He had this funny kind of way of moving and being in the world that was very kind of animal-like. The thwartedness of the guy, that vocal thing, the weird trap voice thing was actually a big part of it. This guy who couldn't express all of his rage.
What do you mean? You mean you're dumping me? For what?
How do you think about, / how do you get into playing the explosive rage?
Well, what starts to happen is people want you to explode with rage. I don't necessarily want to explode with rage all the time. I get those parts. How that happens, I don't know that I can say. I mean, I suppose in some way I'm unconsciously working myself up into it. I don't know. You just go for it, you just see what happens. And sometimes I think as an actor, I will just blow it out as far as I can, to just go as far as I can first and then bring it back. Although a lot of people like it when you go as far as you can. Rage is a really tricky thing to play. Billions, Chuck Rhodes.
I was hoping not to go back to Boyd, but now we have to. I'll need your help.
Why would I?
You already decided, before you told me the Connery piece. We here at Rhodes Airlines know you have many travel options and are grateful that you have chosen to fly with us.
I thought the kind of cat and mouse, like collar crime thing was interesting. I thought it was interesting playing this kind of like dark crusader for justice guy. This guy who was in his mind doing the right thing, but kind of going about it by any means and stuff. I thought he was a bit villainous, and which was kind of cool, but he was also a good guy. This very heady, intellectual sort of guy, but he also has this kind of animalistic thing about him. It's a lawyer, and it's like, I don't think I'd ever played a lawyer, not like that before.
Guardate che se borrino cazze popolo baccia palle non ti vogliono manco le canne. Sei così stanco, se che pesti una merda, vai scoppa!
I am Italian, so I grew up hearing Italian, but I don't speak it, so I did have to learn it and do it as well as I could. It was some kind of weird dialect too. I think the whole thing was weird dialect. It was harrowing to do in the moment because I was like, am I going to remember this? It's going to take forever to shoot, but it was okay. That kind of burst of language is fun. The Illusionist, Inspector Ool.
Don't fool yourself that you can play in their game. I've served on the edge of it for many, many years, and I can tell you with certainty, there's no trick they haven't seen. It's not worth it.
That was like a kind of wish fulfillment thing too, like Planet of the Apes, because it was a sort of Sherlock Holmes world with sort of pipes and black gloves and gaslight and horses and carriages, which was something that I was so excited to do. And I got a German accent and I had a slouch black hat and everything. And I was a bit sort of villainous, but not really, actually. The guy turns out to be a very sort of decent guy, just sort of doing his job, which was cool. I liked that too about it. Being in Prague, the whole thing, immersive and like a whole world and that kind of mystery thing with a weird supernatural thing. I could have played that character forever. The Holdovers, Paul Hunnam.
Need I remind you that it is not my fault that you are stuck here? Do you think I want to be babysitting you?
Well, in that instance, there was a lot of unconscious memories I had. Many, many people I'd grown up with. My father was an academic and my mother taught high school and all my grandparents were teachers. And so I grew up around a lot of that stuff and I went to a school like that. There were some specific people that I had in mind, but I was familiar with the kind of bookish world. The cigarette smoke, the pipe smoking, that kind of guy I was very familiar with. It's the script, man. I just read it over and over again and it just keeps giving you stuff. It's a similar kind of high-toned language to like John Adams or something like that. That guy lives in another century. He doesn't live in the contemporary world, that guy.
Dr. Gertler says I don't always give consideration to my audience.
Oh. And who is Dr. Gertler?
My shrink.
Has Dr. Gertler ever tried a good swift kick in the ass?
Talk to me about the eyes.
I'm not at liberty to reveal.
You're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not at liberty to reveal. I think they want to maintain the mystery of what the eye was. It works, which is really great. And whatever we were doing there definitely contributed and helped with the character. That was an external thing that definitely made it work.
And go James Beam.
All right.
Presto, Cherry's Jubilee.
People have been calling The Holdovers a cozy movie.
Mm-hmm.
Does that square with you?
Squares with me. I don't think it squares with Alexander. I think Alexander, for some reason, takes exception to it being called cozy. And I think he's just being a bit of a curmudgeon. I think he knows exactly what people are talking about, and I think he likes it. You know, I mean, it's in there. It's funny and it's heartbreaking. And there is inevitably something that feels that way because of the snow and the New England thing and stuff like that and the Christmas thing. There's certainly enough spikiness in it to counteract the cozy in it, but it's in there.
You mentioned wanting to play a Bond villain. If
Yeah.
you were to build up a Bond villain for yourself, how would you do it?
Wow, that's an excellent question. I'd want an accent of some kind. I definitely want an accent. It'd be nice to have an animal with me of some kind. Not necessarily a cat, but something. An animal maybe, not a parrot or something, you know, something real. I don't know. An accent, though, of some kind I'd have to have. Furs would be great. A guy who's all in fur coats and stuff like that would be great.